Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. So joining us in a state nation interview is a former leader of the House of Representatives, Honorable Alhassan Doguwa. He's representing Doguwa Todunwada Local Government Federal Constituency of Kano. He's also the chairman House Standing Committee on Petroleum Resources Upstream, and he doubles as the chairman of the Northern Regional Caucus of the House of Representatives. Welcome to the show, Honorable Doguwa. We've been expecting to have this interview for a while. I think it was since last week. We've been looking forward to having you on the show to talk about all that happened during the protest. And you have the floor. To join the conversation, you can call us on 0810-764-1679 or 090-241-63440, or tweet to us at TVC Connect, #YourView, or you can comment on our YouTube page. We would like you to contribute to this conversation. This is a rare opportunity to get one-on-one with the House of Rep. So, sir, first thing I'm going to ask would be reviewing the concluded nationwide protest, especially in Kano, where you're from, and it was a very, very sad. The videos looked really bad. The destruction was shocking, and I'd like to have your opinion on the mammoth crowd that trooped out in the name of the protest and destroyed many properties.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على نبيه الكريم. I think talking about the recently concluded nationwide protest, so to say, I would like to, in my own way, say that it was like we have had at least the opportunity to see the bad and the ugly faces of the protest. I said the good, the bad, and the ugly faces of the protest because the trio of these factors have actually played out. And when I need to give my own personal analysis as to what actually happened, one can ordinarily say, with all sense of responsibility, that protest or public processions in a democratic system of government like our own in Nigeria is something that will now, one can say in the face of it, that is lawful, is legally allowed, that you can go on a legal and lawful procession either on the street or somewhere in a specified place to simply say out what you think you have to say as a stakeholder in a democratic system of government like our own in Nigeria. And I would like to say that, of course, the protest, as it were, like I earlier said, has got these three phases that I have mentioned. The good phase of it, the bad phase of it, and indeed the ugly aspect of it, unfortunately. I want to say, based on my own opinion and based on what I have seen played out during the protest, that protest ordinarily would have been a good thing if it was actually well intended and meant probably to provide checks on the possible excesses or policies of a given government. And it is like a window that is offered to not only stakeholders, citizens in general, to come out and let the government of the day know of what their position is or what are their own expectations or the kind of mileage they think the government is going through to provide like what you can call checks and balances from a civil perspective. And when you now make reference, direct reference to what has happened in Nigeria vis-a-vis in Kano State, three things must have to be stated. One, I think every one of you, the viewers and those of you anchoring this program can agree with me that a state like Kano, taken from the fact that it's a very populous state, very highly populous state, I think the highest populous state in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, with the kind of population factor we have in the state, and probably with some extent of some kind of level of so many people either unemployed, so to say, or people who are out of school for whatever reason, you can tell Nigerians clearly without fear of contradiction that because of these factors surrounding the state, then whatever comes up in Kano of this nature is bound to be escalated because of the population, is bound to also be escalated because of the overzealousness of our own kind of youth. And even if you look at the political terrain in Kano, the kind of narratives we have down in our history, the state is a progressive state, and by our progressive nature and our proactive commitment and conviction to always say out what people want to say, I think has created or made the state a bit vulnerable to used restiveness, political restiveness. And these are some of the factors that one cannot take away from the fact that, yes, it happened to be the most unprecedented across the state of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And if you like, you can put it maybe the most destructive that we have had through the course of this nationwide protest, starting from the 1st August probably to the 1st, 2nd, and the 3rd day. And one other factor that I have to say out, of course, take it or not, this is my own understanding. One other major factor, major incidental factor that made the case of Kano a bit worse than every other state in the Federation, I would like to say with due respect and some sense of modesty to the office of the governor of Kano State, that the government in Kano and the governor in person, I think, did not manage this case very well. The expectations in most places, especially at the level of the state governments, not only Kano State governor, but in this case I'm making reference to the office of the governor of the state and the governor of Kano State, His Excellency Engineer Kabiru Yusuf, that there was some sense of negligence in the sense that most states assumed that it was a problem for the federal government. Or a problem for the federal government, bad governance is about federal government, insecurity is about federal government, hunger is about federal government, which obviously is not the case. If you are talking of governance, we are operating under what we call a constitutional federal system of government, constitutional democracy, constitutional federal system of government, whereby you have three components of governments: the federal government and the subnationals, including the local governments. So when you are talking of good governance or bad governance, whether you take it or not, it means the effect of whatever protest youth are likely to stage will have to cut across down the ladder. The federal government will have its own share. The state government should have its own share and responsibility of why people feel that there is bad governance. And the local governments too should have its own share in the course of analysis or making a judgment of what a good or bad governance should be.
Honorable.
So most state governors took it for granted and expected that, oh, this was a mammoth protest against the federal government alone. And the point I'm trying to make is that the governor took it for granted because he came out openly to make some statements which were very diabolical. Very diabolical, and they were also like they were impulsive. To tell the world and to tell the people of Kano State, especially the youth, that come out, if you want to protest, come out, you are free to protest, come to the government house, I will receive you and receive your complaints and principles of protest and take to Mr. President.
Honorable.
So this was like a clear-cut, yes.
So I agree that the governor incited them by inviting, protesters to come out, but I think he also underestimated the lack of information that they have. In every such violence, there's an information, and that is that most of the youth up north, especially in Kano, were not as informed as it was south about, what the protest was about. So they mistook it for, a free-for-all. You agree that, being out of school, the lack of education, and the lack of employment is a major factor, and, this is something you, as a representative of a constituency within Kano, should address.
Can I also add
yes,
that?
I would like to agree with you on some of these points that you raised, but I want to a little disagree with you in terms of lack of communications. Okay. Communication in the present day Nigeria and even the globe is now a common thing. Is now global. It's accessible by everyone. I want to tell you that I cannot underrate or underestimate the level of awareness of my people, especially political awareness, and especially in terms of dissemination of information. These people in Kano, especially the youth, you have the enlightened one, you have the educated one, the well-informed ones. And I believe, like I said, some of them came out under the good intention of simply staging a protest to pinpoint at some of the lapses of government at all levels of governance, including the third tier of government, which is the local government. And the mistake His Excellency, the governor, made was that, and so many of his colleagues, state governors, mistook these actions or this intended action as if it was going to be a protest against solely the federal government, not knowing that these people are enlightened and intelligent enough to know that every person in authority should be held accountable to the kind of duties constitutionally given or accorded to his office. And the governor now decided to come out and say, oh, protesters can come out, they are free to do it. I'm even welcoming you to the seat of power in the state. Come and stage your protest. Of course, I don't want to say that the governor was doing that with ill intentions. One, he was also, he was either misperceiving the issue, and two, I believe he was saying that in good intention, that he wanted the true organizers of the protest who may have come out in good intention with the good zeal to simply say, oh, this is what we want from the government, that come out, I will receive you, and when you come out, I will take your claims and your complaints to the federal government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Forgetting that these people may have come with claims that are within the jurisdiction of the state governor. For instance, when you are talking of insecurity, for instance, you are talking of infrastructure, you are talking of healthcare delivery system, education system, there are certain components of the discharge of these duties that are rest in the office of the governor of a state. So if these people are actually informed and well educated enough, they will have to come out and hold everyone by his father's name.
Okay,
and in this case, this misperception helped to escalate everything. And that was why I said in the beginning that we have had and we have seen the good side of it, we have seen the bad side of it, and of course we have seen the ugly side of it. And ultimately, like I said, in Kano, because of the volume and the huge nature of our population, the protest was obviously hijacked by people whom I can call politically motivated individuals.
Okay,
they have funded this protest under the ground, they have financed them, they have incited them, a lot of things happening, believing that, oh, it was going to be a problem that will affect the federal government alone, which obviously was not the case.
Obviously. Honorable, we'd like to get in more questions for you.
Okay, yeah, Honorable. So, like you're talking about protests being hijacked, and you cannot hijack a protest without people. And this takes me back to like the education system, where most of the people are not in school, most of the children are not in school. The Almajiris, you can see what's happening in Abuja, for example, FCT, where Mr. Taib Maman is trying to, Professor Taib Maman is trying to take the Almajiris from the streets and then put them back into school, so that they don't loiter about or be hijacked like during the protest. So what is the state, or what's the government doing about that now, knowing that this is a problem, knowing that, you know, the education system is messed up, kids are not in school? What are they doing about that after this whole protest has happened?
I think I still would like to disagree with you a little because this issue of Almajiri school is our own inherited education system in the northern part of the country. So when you are talking of children out of school, out of which school? We have our children in the formal school system, and we have our children also in the traditional school system. Agreed, the traditional school system may have some of its inherent problems that we must have to address. But I always want to disagree with whoever says that, oh, you have out-of-school children in Kano or in the northern part of the country. We do not have, so to say, out-of-school children. We may have children out of school under formal system of education. But those of us, our kids and our wards, including my own kids, may have the opportunity of going to Islamic system of education, which may not have been as formal as you think, and you cannot address them as out-of-school kids. They are in school like every other person is in school. I also want to put it to you that the issue of lack of information or awareness, rule it out. The ordinary person, the most ordinary person you can find on the street of Kano today, especially where this problem happened the more, in the metropolis, the ordinary citizen or ordinary indigenous of Kano that you can find on the street and assume that he is not exposed or he is not intelligent or he is not informed, he is so informed that he knows what happens. The more you have this Android phone in your hands, the more you listen to radio and you listen to the TVC, which I believe the city boys, the city kids, these children that actually took part in this protest have always had access to. You cannot ask, or you cannot charge somebody, for instance, of being uninformed or uneducated. That is on one hand. Then on the other hand, I agree with you that this as a problem, the government must have to find a means of addressing these problems. Even the Almajiri system of government, I want to thank President Bola Ahmed Tinubu down the way to the former President Muhammadu Buhari, where they have come up with a commission, special commission, that will definitely look at the excesses of this, our traditional system of education, taking in mind or into cognizance that yes, it's an education system, but there are some policies associated to it, insecurity, exposure of our kids to a lot of dangers. And a commission was set up by the former President Muhammadu Buhari. And more importantly, the present government, which was a continuation of the government of
Honorable,
Muhammadu Buhari.
But it doesn't seem like that commission has been
government.
Effective, sir. That commission hasn't been very effective.
Yes,
Let me have the question, sir.
Let me get this point done. Let me get this thing done before the next question. So with a commission like this that is being promoted by a progressive and very active government like our own today, I want to agree that some of these problems will definitely be addressed. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu found this commission just promulgated, just established by law. It was not set up. Today, as I speak to you, the commission is set up. It has its own specified location of office in Abuja. I think administrators, DG and other executive administrators have been appointed to run the commission. And that goes to tell you that government is not insensitive to the plight of our kids on the street. And at the same time, acknowledging or appreciating the Islamic education system or the traditional education system that our people pursue in the northwestern part of the country, most especially. So I want to tell you that those of us in the second arm of government, which is the legislature, will continue to cooperate with the executive arm of government to think of actually creating enabling legal framework that will help us address very effectively the menace of out of school or out of formal school children, and how we can be able to even formalize our traditional education system in a way that even at the end of a system of a curricular program, for instance, an Almajiri child who might have been domesticated in a specified place could have the opportunity to have a formal certificate that he has read so courses.
Fantastic.
Is it Islamic jurisprudence? Is it Islamic morals? Is it Sharia? Some of the facets of Islamic training.
That's under the new
and whoever has got
established
that opportunity can now have a certificate in his own hand to bear that I've attended, so to say, a semi-formal.
Sir, that will be based on this
system,
new.
and
What
I'll
you're
be
saying
able to
now.
get a certificate to that effect.
Okay, fantastic. Let me get Ramatu's question.
So, salam alaikum, sir. First of all, sir, I'm going to disagree with the fact that the new Islamic, Islamic body or something that you said about the Almajiri education, we can tell that the Almajiri, this thing is really a menace to our society, especially to the northern part of Nigeria. And I want to speak on the protest. That protest was not led by anybody. There was no leader, there was nobody that could be addressed. So at the end of the day, the protest came out, will I say null and void, because at the end of the day, nothing came out of it, right? So now the question I want to ask you is that, which policies, what are the policies that we're going to put in place, especially the North? Because I saw a video of the Deputy President coming out, Kashim Shettima, coming out to say that it's time for the Northern governors to come out and sit on a round table and start facing head-on the problems in the North, right? So I want to ask you, what are those policies that we're going to start making now to start getting the North in the right place? Because as we are seeing, the way things are going right now, the North is going to be very hot very soon. So what are the policies? What can you tell us some of the solutions that you think will help the North?
Okay, thank you so much, Ramatu. First of all, let me react to your opinion, which you said that was your own opinion, that there was nobody leading that protest. I want to also put it back to you that I still insist in my own opinion that there were some masquerades behind the protest. Take it or not, that is the true position. Some of them were politically motivated. Some of them had economic reasons. Some of them had social reasons. I want to tell you, nothing of such magnitude could have come without anything, without nothing. That is the position. Take it or not. And secondly, that the Al-Majri system you are talking about that is a problem to the north. It's only a problem to the north because we now have to see to the possibility of coming up with a different narratives that will coordinate and probably sustain the system in a manner that it will be for the good of the people, so that our kids cannot just be roaming about on the street. And those are some of the problems our state governors must agree and accept to tackle. And it's part of the reasons why I also said initially that we are running a federation which is being guided by a constitution, constitutional federalism, where powers and authorities are dissected into 3 tiers of government. There are some duties and responsibilities that are bestowed under the jurisdiction of whom you call the governor of a state and the chief security officer of that state. Education, for instance, especially education at the universal, at the basic level, basic education, which of course I believe this Al-Majri system of education has squarely fallen under the jurisdiction or the purview of what you call basic education, which means it's mostly the responsibility of the state governors, with some certain responsibilities also bestowed on the federal government because they share it like they are concurring in terms of power sharing as far as basic education is concerned. That is why we have the SUBEB at the state level, and we have also we have the UBEC at the federal government level.
We need to go on a break.
Of Nigeria's education system is something that is concurred between the state and the federal government. And I want to tell you that I'm not a policy maker. Policies are being generated and initiated by the executive arm of government. I am fundamentally a legislator. I am proudly a parliamentarian, and I'm proudly someone that works within the legislative component of the Nigeria's democratic system.
Honorable, we need to go on a break, and we hear you. However, many people will say that you have been in power since 2007, and we cannot deny the fact that if there has been constant improvement in the lives of the citizens within all the northern states where there were controversy and protests and, destruction of property, if there's been improvement in their lives is democracy, we probably won't have this level of protest. But when we come back, we'll round off this conversation with you, sir, and we'd love you to give us clarity on what the administration will be doing to better the lives of people that came out to do the protest. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. So before we went to the break, I made a personal opinion of the fact that the Honorable, you have been in power long enough to be able to say that you have been in power long enough for us to hold you accountable as part of the challenge of what we are facing, that you could have contributed, maybe what you would have said or what you could have done, or calling out politicians that are not delivering early enough could have prevented some of the things that we saw, especially the destruction of private businesses that have suffered right now. And I'm wondering, how do you feel we can heal and the people of Kano can heal after that? I know Nima wanted to add another question to that.
Okay, yeah. So the system of Al-Majri, yes, is an educational system that is well known in Islam, but the method that is done, the institution has completely been destroyed up north. Yes. These children are abused, they are marginalized, they are all forms of abuse because they're pushed out by their teachers to hawk, to beg for whatever means to pay their teachers. So it's not a system that is serving us anymore. As a representative of the people of Doguwa, when you see these children out on the streets, do you still consider them being educated in the states that they are in, begging for food?
Okay, my sister, let me also give this thing back to you, because we are actually looking at the issue from the perspective of how to resolve the problems. Who is responsible for what, or who is responsible for what, at what time and at what level. You see, when you are talking of this issue of Al-Majiris, not educated, walking on the street, begging, and what have you, of course, I agree some of these points you raise are germane and they are critical, and we must have to find solution we must have to find way forward to address them. But let me give you this one good example. Initially, I gave you two reasons. One, I said the population value, the population factor was a reason, good reason, that made the crisis in Kano quite escalated. Second, I said, with respect, I want to repeat, with the respect and humility and with all sense of modesty to the office of the governor of my state, my proud state, Kano, that the governor in question, Engineer Abba Kabir Yusuf, took the matter for granted, and there was what I can call mishandlings. Additional to this reason, madam, we are talking of a society that is supposed to observe rule of law. Rule of law. And this youth that we have supposedly on the street, these young men who are also informed and well educated to some extent, madam, have seen in that same Kano state a situation whereby respect for the rule of law is taken to the dogs. Respect for the rule of law is not taken seriously. A situation whereby a whole government and the governor of the state could pretend to undermine the ruling of a court, like in the case of the Emirate Council crisis. A ruling was given. Stay action, don't act. And the governor went ahead to act against the ruling of a court, which means he is subjugating the principle of rule of law. He is not respecting the principle of law and order. So I want to say this also on record, that probably our young men whom you are underrating as not educated, whom you are underrating as Al-Majiris on the streets, may have taken a lesson from the chief executive of the state, who has also flouted court ruling and flouted order of the court. Like in Abuja, for instance, let me give you this good example. When a court ruling was given, a judgment was given that, oh, you protesters, you have the right to go to the street, you have the right to iron out with the government, but you are hereby restricted by an order of a competent court of jurisdiction that you are restricted to operate at only the national stadium. And for the fact that they have not seen Wike flouting rule of law, they have not seen Mr. President, our father, the father of the land in the FCT Abuja, flouting rule of law. They have not seen Senator Godswill Akpabio, the President of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, breaching the rule of law. They have not seen our own Barrow Jibrin, the Deputy Senate President, breaching the rule of law. So Abuja people, Abuja youth now copied from an exemplary case of our leaders here. And they stayed at the stadium alone. They didn't move out. But in a state where those in authorities decided to flout the rule of law, disrespect court order.
I understand you, and I get the logic of what you're saying. But we also know that we can't blame the sitting governor for the problems that probably has been coming over time. It's not one governor that will be responsible for all the issues that happened within Kano State. But I want to ask you a question. This is just on a lighter note. We know that you had a very good relationship with Honorable Abdulmumin Jibrin, and it seems like there's a frosty relationship between you and him. And I would like you to explain if everything is good or are things went bad. Did things go bad?
I want to actually, with all sense of respect and humility, tell you that as someone who is trained and cultured, what happened between myself and Abdulmumin Jibrin has happened. And in the course of that happening, I received so many calls from my parents, my leaders, my colleagues and friends across the globe, not even within Nigeria, that we should stop it. I can tell you, I don't want to name people, but high-placed Nigerians who definitely, by my culture, could ask me to stop and stop. And at some point, I had to stop what we were doing. And for that same reason, I wouldn't like to now offer myself for any engagement, whether question, observation, or opinion about what happened between myself and Abdulmumin Jibrin Kopa, the member representing Kiru Bebeji Federal Constituency from my own humble, my good state. And what other people may not have known is that Abdulmumin Jibrin Kopa's constituency was carved out of mine. So I am representing his mother constituency. By extension, two of us belong to the two constituencies. I can be of Iru and Bebeji, and he could also proudly be of Tudunwada federal constituency. So I want to say, with due respect to the I don't want to say warning, to the advice I have received from so many quarters of this country that I should stop it. I don't want to continue further. It happened. But right. I have no regret. I have no regret whatsoever for what I have said as far as that tussle or media tussle was concerned. No regret. And whatever I said, I stand by it. Only that I cannot continue talking about it anymore.
Okay, so we understand that, and we move on as well. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your contribution. We wish you all the best as you represent your constituents
for the opportunity
and bringing them more dividends of democracy. That's all we can take on this segment. To take a break, when we return, we have another guest on the show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.